I don't think Secretary Kerry is an enemy of the state of Israel. I think his statement was ham-handed, was not good diplomacy to use words like that. I think it's important to realize he wasn't calling Israel an apartheid state, but when you ever use those two words in the same sentence, you do some damage to Israel because you implicitly confirm an untrue narrative that Israel's enemies would like to be established. What he said is if there was a one-state solution instead of a two-state solution, Israel, because it would dominate an Arab population, a Muslim population, would therefore have to keep the population separate, and that would be apartheid. I think that's what he meant. I think that's true, but I also do not believe that the alternative to the peace process succeeding, and right now I think it's totally dead-ended, is a one-state solution. The Israelis are not going to accept that at this point, and should not. And it is not a simple choice. Either it's a two-state solution, which, after all, Hamas rejects and Fatah rejects, Mahmoud Abbas rejects. He may say he's willing to negotiate towards it, but he's really not. There is not simply one alternative to that, which is one unitary state where everybody takes part. In fact, that is quite impossible, given the history, not just of the last 60 years, but the last 100 years. There has to be a divorce between Palestinian Arabs and Palestinian Jews, not a marriage. We're not at that stage. So there are many other possibilities. Secretary Kerry should be aware of them, should be thinking about them, should be thinking outside the box, rather than pushing the false narrative that Israel will end up with no choices. Israel does have other choices, and the United States should be helping Israel with those choices.
And should the U.S. remain as involved as the...
The U.S. always has to be involved, but I think it was very much a fool's errand, I have to say, for Secretary Kerry to simply say, I can sweep in to the Middle East and I am going to solve the conflict between the Palestinians and the Israelis that no one could solve before me, without having any new ideas, without having anything creative to put on the table, just by, I don't know, the force of his personality, or because it was ripe for a solution. There was no evidence that it was ripe for a solution. In fact, even if Mahmoud Abbas, the Palestinian Authority chairman, even if he were to really sincerely want to make peace with Israel right now, which I happen not to believe, I don't see how he could. It would be drawing a target on his back for Hamas. It would be drawing a target on his back for the Iranians, who may in a very short time be a very major player in the Middle East, maybe even the hegemonic, nuclear-armed, terrorist-sponsoring. Who would protect Mahmoud Abbas if he were to shake hands with Bibi Netanyahu and say the conflict is over? Really? Did Secretary Kerry really think that that was an easy thing to precipitate, even if Abbas wanted it and would risk his life for it, all of which I would argue is not true.